husband told me an amazing story this past Shabbat. He was telling me about something that happened when he was visiting his family cottage this summer in Canada. His family has a cottage on a little lake, and every summer he spends a bit of time there with a few of our kids. And so this past summer he was there at the same time as a sort of distant relative of ours who is actually a forest ranger. He's a forest ranger in like the far west of Canada. His name is Eric. And so let's say like as a forest ranger he's in charge of maybe I don't know, something like hundreds of thousands of acres of forest, and he's an expert on trees. So my husband and I were, my husband and Eric were talking, and my husband pointed out a tree, like he said, wow, what a great tree, what a beautiful, thriving, green, tremendous tree. And Eric said, well, you know, it might be a beautiful tree, but it's a dead tree. So my husband's like, what? It's a dead tree? It's a beautiful tree. It's like the most alive tree that there ever was. And Eric said, no. He said, I want to point something out to you. So they looked at the bark, and aside from being totally healthy and a beautiful tree, Eric pointed out that on the bark that there was a bit of the bark that was missing. A ring around the bark was missing. And Eric pointed out that this ring of missing bark, that it was a beaver came along from the lake, and bit the tree, and like bit it up, and like ate up this part of the bark. And even though it looks like a very, very small thing, small damage to the tree, in fact this ring of bark which is missing is preventing the water. It prevents the water from going up the tree. So basically, the water from the water source in the ground, it can't get up the tree. It gets stopped at the ring because the main thing that brings up the water is in the bark. Connected to the bark is the membrane which carries the water up. So basically, the leaves aren't getting any water. The bark above that little ring isn't getting any water. The branches aren't getting water. So Eric said, you know, this is a dying tree. Like maybe it will, you know, maybe it will hold up for another year, 2, 3, maybe more, but this is a dying tree. It has no future. So you'll come back here in a few years and it just won't be here. It'll be like a stump. It'll be dead. So it's a very, very striking image for me, you know, to think about, you know, like as Jews, it's clear, like what is water? Water is Torah, and water is, you know, it's like represented to me like being connected to Hashem and being connected with inspiration and why we're doing what we're doing as Jews, and it reminded me like how easy it is, you know, as a Jew and as a Jewish mother, to look okay. You can look like that tree, and you can keep the house looking beautiful, and the kids look, you know, well groomed, and everything looks great, and you know, and you can look great, and you can have makeup and clothing, and you can look like you're like thriving, but really, God forbid, you're a beaver tree. You're God forbid, you're dead. You're cut off from the source of inspiration. You're cut off from Hashem. You're cut off from the Torah. You're cut off from what keeps you going. What reminds you? What you're cut off from the things that remind you of your ultimate goal as a Jewish mom, which is to, you know, to serve Hashem and to, you know, and to promote the Torah and to keep on with our ancient traditions, and to raise kids who also serve Hashem and learn Torah and love the Torah and love our ancient traditions, and having so God forbid, like if you're a beaver tree, like you might look great, but you're cut off from all that. So I just wanted to talk about some small ideas, some things that I found in my busy life as a Jewish mom and wife and whatever. Some things that I do in order to bring inspiration into my life, so that God forbid I should not become a beaver tree. So I should stay an inspired Jewish mom. So I just wanted to like suggest maybe some of you, even if you could like adopt even one of these things that I'm suggesting into your life, I hope it will help to help keep you connected to your source, to keep you connected to Hashem and the Torah, and to what's ultimately important in our lives as Jewish moms. So the first thing I want to say is that, of course, like I guess the first thing when you think about connecting with Hashem is davening. So I pray every day. I pray a very, very little bit. I only pray, I say, from Moda Ani until the blessing, Hanotan Li'ayif Koach, and so basically anyone who's familiar with the davening knows that what I just this little bit of davening, it only takes me about 3 minutes, and that's davening slow. It takes me 3 minutes. But still, it's very, very important, very, very important to me. It's a day, like those 3 minutes of really connecting with Hashem. I think probably, I spoke with my rabbi, and he said for me in my personal situation, this very little bit of davening is fine. Probably you all should speak with your rabbi and ask what's expected and required of you. Something that I found with me, so I've been doing this 3-minute davening for as long as I can remember, for over 15 years. So even though it seems like very, very little, it's something that I've really stuck with, and that's really, really made a big impact. And in general, I think this is really true. Things that I've found about not becoming a beaver tree, the things that I find inspiring, that I really stick with them, are the things that take almost no time. 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Those are the things that really make the most impact, because I really, really stick with them. So even though I'm only davening for 3 minutes, it's something that I've done every single morning for the past 15 years, which I don't know, which is thousands and thousands of minutes and maybe hours. So basically, after I daven, I read 1 page of an inspirational book. So let's say, depending on what I'm working on in my life at that moment. Let's say I'm working on having more faith. Let's say I'm working on having more patience with my children. Let's say I'm working on having, more confidence. Let's say at the moment, actually, I'm working on, overcoming negative thinking and negative thinking patterns. So I read 1 page after I daven. I read 1 page of a book about that topic, about working on that topic. So this morning I read, I daven, and then I read 1 page of this book about, about developing more positive thinking, overcoming negative thinking. And after that, I do 5 minutes of hitbodedut, 5 minutes talking to Hashem. About something related to my life, and talking to Hashem, like sort of an issue that I'm working on. So this morning, for example, I talked about Shabbat and what went right on Shabbat, what went wrong on Shabbat, how next Shabbat I want to try. I asked Hashem actually for help in helping me balance better my needs and my kids' needs, and somehow working that out. Another thing that I do to not become a beaver tree, to prevent my becoming a beaver tree, is that I listen to 2 classes. One class is the weekly class of Rabbi Niven, his personal development chabura, which I love, and which I recommend very highly. In fact, I think that you can still sign up for this new session, and you just go to newchabura.com, newchabura.com, and I recommend it very, very highly. And also I read the weekly class of Rabbi Mizrahi, my teacher, I would love it if you did those specific classes. Rabbi Imiman's class is now only available in Hebrew, so it's no longer available in English. They were sending out classes in English. Unfortunately, that's been discontinued. But I'd recommend to you, like every mother, to find something, to find a class that you love, to find who inspires you, like Shira Smiles on LA.com, or is it, I don't know if it's LA.org, I don't know, but Shira Smiles or Rebbetzin Heller or Rebbetzin Young Grace, or whatever inspires you, to try weekly, every week, to listen to something that inspires you. So if you can't get it together to actually go to a regular class, something that I really enjoy is the Chazak hotline. The Chazak hotline is a free hotline of just pure inspiration, where they have different numbers you can press. One's like a short inspirational story. One's like something about one's just like classes on different inspirational classes before the holidays. My favorite part of the Chazak hotline, what I find the most inspirational, is an option 3. Then they have the option to listen to inspiring stories about overcoming challenges. So stories about people who suffer from terrible illnesses or suffered terrible tragedies, and how they've overcome them. And incredible stories of strength and faith. And it's just phenomenally inspired. I've listened to definitely dozens and dozens of these inspirational stories. They're really incredible, and really incredible about keeping life and the issues that we're facing in perspective, and getting through our own personal nisyonot, challenges, with emunah, with faith. So another small thing that I do is I enjoy reading magazines, and I like reading religious magazines. I read Bina. I read I read Family First, which is the women's magazine of Mishpacha. I also recently subscribed to a magazine that I like a lot. It's in Hebrew. If any of you are Hebrew speakers, it's called Hallel, Hey Lamed Lamed, which is also very inspiring stories for religious women and mothers. And so it's just like, you have a bit of time. You're waiting for the doctor. You're on the bus. You're in the park with your kids. In a way, it's sort of easier than reading a book. You just like open up. You can read an inspirational story, or like a little Devar Torah, like a little word of Torah, and it's really nice. It's really easy way to stay inspired reading these magazines. So the fourth thing I want to talk about is I think in a way for me it's the most important. Is that I have four different chavrutas, sort of learning partners, which I have over the course of the week. And this might sound like a tremendous amount of time, like how am I spending all this time like with these learning partners? It's because a lot of them, because at least two of them, I do them while I'm cleaning the house. So basically it's something that otherwise the time would pretty much just be like wasted. But I'm using it to do something that's really like helping me to grow as a person and as a Jew. So the first thing that I do is every week every week I have a chavruta with someone named Yoni. She's from Milwaukee, and basically we do cheshbon nefesh. We do like a spiritual accounting of our week, and what's gone well and what hasn't gone well, and what we want to work on. And it's really a phenomenally enjoyable and also I think helpful way to grow as a person and to overcome the challenges which all of us inevitably face. And it's fantastic. We've been doing it now for over 2 years. So the next thing is that I have a chavruta, which I did for a while and then I stopped and now I'm doing it again. It's a chavruta learning partnership about goals, about achieving our ultimate goals in life. So basically it's me and two other mothers, and we have an hour together, and each of us speaks for 20 minutes about a goal that we're trying to achieve. Let's say one mother will talk about how she's on a diet, she's trying to like overcome a tendency towards overeating. Another mother will talk about like how she's trying to figure out what will really give her a sense of fulfillment and happiness in life, and what can she do. And I'll talk about maybe like I talked last week about how about the website and how like I really want to help Jewish mothers be happier. How can I do that? What can I do to help Jewish mothers be happier? What can I add or implement into the website to do that? And it's really fantastic, because I think just otherwise we lose sense of we can if we don't verbalize our goals or have like a way of like a time to think about them and get feedback about it, and then we end up just not achieving our ultimate goals. We're just sort of like living and not really living without like a focus. And so I love that. Another chavruta that I have, a learning partner that I have, is actually my most long-standing learning partner. I've mentioned her several times. Her name is Sarah Deb, and she lives in Connecticut. Sarah Debbie Goodfriend. She's also a writer and stay-home mom. And we have had a chavruta for the past 5.5 years. And every night we read 4 pages of an inspirational Jewish book, and we write to each other, about what we read. Like I'll write, like let's say I'll read the 4 pages, and then I'll write like a few sentences about what stood out and what made an impression on me, and what questions I have. And then she writes back, and maybe she writes her own things, and maybe she comments, and maybe I comment back on what she wrote, and it's really fantastic. I lost count, like I think a few years ago, on how many books we have read together, but just by doing 4 pages every night, and also we read the Parsha every Thursday night, and we write about that. But we must have read, I think, over 40 books by now together, which is phenomenal. It just shows you, as I mentioned before with the davening, when you take on a small thing, you make a teensy commitment. Those are the things that really, I believe, really end up making the most tremendous impact in our lives as Jewish moms and Jews and everything. Okay, And the fourth chavruta, my fourth learning partner, is that I sit down every week. I have a friend from the neighborhood named Efrat, and every week we sit together and we read from the Netivot Shalom together. The Netivot Shalom is the Slonim Rebbe, and he writes a lot about, he wrote this very sort of very accessible Chassidus, and we learn about, emunah, and having faith, and having bitachon, and trusting in Hashem, and we talk a bit about our lives and implementing these ideas into our lives and how it relates to like what we've been going through in our lives as moms, and it's really, really wonderful. So basically, I'm just telling you all these. It might sound like a bit much to you, like everything I've just like thrown on you, all different ways that I try to stay inspired in my life as a Jewish mom. I'm just giving you all these ideas because I think that even if you can implement even one of the things that I mentioned, even one of them into your life, I think it make a big difference in keeping you inspired and keeping you connected to Hashem and the Torah, and what our ultimate goals as a Jewish mom. So I want to bless Olive. So I want to bless you, and bless me too. That none of us Jewish moms should ever, ever, ever become a beaver tree. I want to bless all of you with an amazing, amazing week.